Hello, everybody. This is Sean from Scouts West, and just finishing up my spring over setup here. So I wanted to share with people what I did, and as a novice mechanic, and hopefully somebody else could watch this and they want to try it themselves. They can know what to do, what not to do, and make hopefully save themselves some headache. I wish I had a video of somebody showing me this, but there's a lot of information out there. So I have a high steer set up when spring over. I used to have a spring under with a 2.5 inch lift, so I'm going spring over with just a stock spring setup. And why high steer setup here, as you can see. The tube I got from my buddy Brad. He was nice enough to give that to me, and he already had cut and churned this. If you don't know how to cut and churn, then you need to have somebody professionally do it, because that's the important part of the whole deal to get your caster right. So that was all set up for me. New ball joints, upper and lower. 1 ton ends, drag link 1 ton here. I have a Wagoneer Tipman arm that I got from Anything Scout, pre-drilled to accept a 1 ton. Otherwise, it's set up for 1/2 ton. And H Parts America has that as well. You get it from them. This is DOM remnant tubing. Got them really cheap because they were remnants, but they were DOM heavy duty stuff. The only catch was the ID was about 1/16 of an inch too narrow to accept my bung end, so I had to drill a bit of a hole inside this way to make the bung end fit, and worked out good. Saved myself probably $70-80 otherwise ordering it regular DOM, non-remnant stuff. By the way, this here is a Garage Mechanic toe adjuster, one here and one on that end, and basically I use a tape measure to get my toe in the ballpark. So when I take it to an alignment shop, hopefully you can knock it out much easier. So that's about the front end. Couple other things to keep in mind when you guys are doing this is your clearance here. So now again, this end is a 1 ton end. This accepts a 1/2 ton drag link, not a 1 ton drag link. So in order to get a 1 ton drag link in there, you have to drill that hole out to make it work. So I had to get that roomed up with my buddy Joe. Otherwise, you have to go 1/2 ton if you wanted to. I just did it because why the hell not? They convinced me to do it. But you want to make sure this clearance here is not an issue for you, especially with this ball coming across. I had to go with these risers, steering arm. I got these from Chris over at Rock Tech. He hooked me up. The other option is to get a riser underneath here, but these are one-piece forged. Much better setup. I could use my regular studs. I didn't have to go extended studs. And from what I understand, it's a much better way to go than having risers underneath. You can avoid it. So that worked out pretty good. Just make sure that this clearance was an issue for me, and my buddy Joe made me aware of that. And also that using the right pitman arm is big, because stock pitman arm would be too long for a high steer setup. You can use it for a Z-bar, but not for a high steer setup. So that about covers the front end. Coming this way, back end. I got my purchase here welded on. My buddy Greg Sanford did an awesome job on those welds. Biggest thing you have to think about as well is your brake line. So the e-brake or parking brake, whatever you want to call it. I talked to a few people, Brad, Little John. They told me to lower it. So basically, I lowered that attachment point by using a extended piece of steel, basically lowering the whole position. I didn't weld it because I wasn't sure how it was all going to work out. Stock, of course, is above the spring, so when you go spring over, it's going to have to go under. I think if I get a longer line, this one, I can make it go back to up there, but I don't know, we'll see. One thing to keep in mind when you're doing this job yourself, as you can see, it sits about this much lower than the spring. So using heavy duty off-roading, you're probably going to bend the crap out of that. But I don't know. We'll see what happens when I go off-roading with it. I do not do crazy stuff anyhow. Coming back over here, shock tabs. I was going to just do the old school, just have a bolt put in, come out this way, but I decided to go with the dog ear setup. I spent half a day trying to make these and fabricating. Then I realized they have them at Rough Stuff Specialties for $20. So lesson learned on that one. The angle here is about 30 degrees from straight up, 30 degrees. I got it up to the mounting point up top. These are my crappy booger welds, but this should hold up okay. I call them offensive line welds. They're big and bulky, ugly, but it should hold. One thing to keep in mind, if you don't have a breather hole, there's a hole here, there's a one here as well for your brake line. I have the same one on this side, but it was open and water was getting in, I'm sure, inside my tube. Luckily not too bad. So I wanted to make a breather hole out of it, but the issue is they do not make a 5/16 by 18 thread breather vent tube that I could find anywhere. So basically I found a set screw that had those thread count, and I drilled a hole right in front of it, and I got my breather hole. Just used my drill press and drilled it out, and it works out pretty good. So either I'm going to put an adapter on top, or I'm going to just zip tie a hose to it, and that's going to be my breather tube. Of course, the ideal way to do it is to go to the top of the pumpkin and tap out a hole, but I didn't want to take a chance of having metal debris inside my pumpkin, and maybe someday if I ever take it apart I might do that. In retrospect, when I had it out, I should have taken a wire reel to the whole thing, cleaned it up good, but live and learn. Anyhow, I hope this helps some people. At first, you're setting it up to make the mistakes I did. The shock tab deals, I mean, if you go over the straight stud sticking out, ideally, you could make a mount this way, put a hole this way, and mount this on top of that so you could pivoting as it goes up and down. I talked to a few guys because I was afraid as this goes up and down, you're going to get some shear forces side to side. But I was told there's enough flex in the system that it should be okay. We'll see. If I break a shock, then I know what happened. Or I'll break the shock tab anyway. So we'll see. It's not the end of the world. You could drive with broken shocks and still be okay. That's about all of it. I hope this helps somebody out and makes their job a bit easier than mine was.